In this video, you will learn what market equilibrium is and what happens in market disequilibrium. Simply put, market equilibrium is the equilibrium point where demand equals supply. In other words, it is the equilibrium point where all buyers can buy the number of goods they demand and all producers can sell the number of goods they want to supply. In terms of graphical presentation, market equilibrium is where the demand curve and supply curve intersect with each other. Let's study the market equilibrium through an example. The following two curves represent the equilibrium point on the bread market, the blue curve being the demand curve and the orange one the supply curve. The equation for the inverse demand function is given by P equals 10 minus 0.5Q, while the equation for the inverse supply function is P equals 2 plus 0.5Q. The equilibrium point on this graph is given by the intersection of the demand and the supply functions, where quantity equals 8 and price equals 6. You can easily see the equilibrium point on this graph and determine the equilibrium price and quantity. However, this is not always the case, so it is important that you know how to solve this problem mathematically. We know from the previous slide that the inverse demand function is given by P equals 10 minus 0.5Q, and the inverse supply function is given by P equals 2 plus 0.5Q. The first step in finding the equilibrium point is to make these equations equal to each other so that 10 minus 0.5Q equals 2 plus 0.5Q. Then we add 0.5Q to both sides and subtract 2 from both sides. This gives us the equation 8 equals Q, which is the equilibrium quantity that we already saw on the previous slide. Now, we take this number and substitute it into any of the original equations. In this example, let's use the equation for the inverse demand function. This makes P equals 10 minus 0.5 times 8, which is 6. And this is the same equilibrium price that we saw on the graph before. Now that you learned the basics of market equilibrium, the next thing you want to know is what happens in market disequilibrium. First of all, what is disequilibrium? Disequilibrium is the exact opposite of market equilibrium. It refers to the situation when demand doesn't equal supply. Basically, a disequilibrium can be caused by two different scenarios: demand being higher than supply or supply being higher than demand. Let's examine these scenarios separately. In the first example, we have a market price of $4, which is below the equilibrium price of $6. In this case, the demanded quantity is 12, while the supplied quantity is 4. What does this mean? It means when demand exceeds supply, some buyers will not be able to purchase all the goods they want, which means there will be a product shortage on the market. This will eventually lead to a price increase, which will move the market price towards its equilibrium of $6. Now, let's look at the other scenario, when supply exceeds demand. Let's say the market price is $7, which is above the equilibrium price of $6. In this case, the supplied quantity equals 10, which is higher than the demanded quantity of 6, so not all producers can sell the number of goods they want to supply. This means there is excess supply on the market, which results in a price decrease until the price reaches its equilibrium of $6. I hope you found this video useful, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos.